We'll call a meeting of the Douglas Capital Committee to order at 2:03 PM on Tuesday, September 12th, 2024. The first order of business for the committee is its reorganization. The floor is open for nominations for chair.
I nominate Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Are there any other nominations?
Don't be bashful.
We don't have to second that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Are there any other
I won't second it.
nominations going once, twice, thrice? All in
Last
favor of Mr. Fitzpatrick to be chair of the Capital Committee for this year, signify so by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? All in favor? Mr. Chairman? your
Thank you.
meeting.
Are you going to stick around for a minute?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just not.
Okay, I'm going to open up the floor for nominations for the vice chairman's position.
I'll nominate Ben Tassino again for this year.
Is there any other nominations? Seeing as none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You have been sentenced.
Congratulations.
Mr. Administrator, could you just give us a little input on the process in which we're going to get a budget for our capital for this coming fiscal year?
So today has proven to be a bad day to pester Jean for anything that is not on her radar screen. The auditors are here today. They've begun some of their testing, which is our annual ritual, and so folks are running around gathering information to answer the auditor's questions. So we certified a number for free cash last October. It's $3.7 million. And at November town meeting, and then the special free cash was appropriated for different projects, mostly the capital committee's projects. So what we will get from Jean is what is our remaining balance. And then in October, the Division of Local Services will certify a free cash number based upon the close of books and what other return back or unexpected revenues we had as of June 30th, 2024. So that will be added to whatever's remaining as free cash, as our functioning number for that. I'm not anticipating our best year ever for free cash, simply because what's been fueling that revenue every year have been rather big events. So a building permit for the warehouse was a big event. A couple of other significant revenue bursts. This year, it's all going to become much more normalized, or put it this way, more routine, in that now that the warehouse has been made part of the tax base by the assessor and assessed as new growth, our revenue projections for this year included the warehouse as new growth. And so it'll be part of the base. That's not free cash. That's used or unused levy capacity. So what we'll be looking for this year is turnbacks, as well as we did have a pretty good year with building permits, which may have been slightly above what we budgeted, and we probably had some insurance settlements and some other things that may come through. But I think we're a much more typical between $250,000, $400,000 free cash add-on from this year. So the capital budget might be somewhat more modest than it has been in the last 3, 4 years, 5 years, just to accommodate that. Now, that's not a permanent fixture. We expect to have some pretty significant building permit activity over the next couple of years, because the pine, sand, and gravel pit project has already been completed at the state permitting level. It's now going through local permitting. So it'll be doing Conservation Commission and Planning Board activity through this fall. So we might see building permits as early as next spring, which would be the fiscal year we're in. So that wouldn't go to free cash until not this October, but the October after that, but they'd be really significant revenue. Because the project contemplated is several times larger than the size of the project we've already done. So this is a bit of a, I don't want to call it a hiatus, but I think the purpose of trying to maximize the capital budget over the last 4 or 5 years was to make sure we took care of the most pressing needs of the town, the deferred maintenance. So a lot of the life safety equipment and major building repairs, we've tried to get done already. So we don't have to keep that pace, in other words, in order to meet our desire to keep the capital of the town in its best possible condition. So that's where we're at. I think so. I think you'll still have sufficient resources to do some things that we've tried to bake into the capital budget, so the town's share of roadway improvement projects to match the state 1-to-1. I think you'll be able to continue to do your savings program for fire apparatus. I have bad news for you on that front. If you ever want to be curious about what's going on in the world, you can try to track the cost of fire equipment vehicles. So the type of ladder truck combination pump truck, it's called a Quint, that we have here in Douglas, we've always said replacing that thing would be about $1.1, $1.2 million, is a fairly expensive truck. That piece of equipment new today is $1.8 million. So the cost of fire trucks is really going through the roof. The cost of all trucks is going through the roof, and the wait time to actually accept delivery has gone from a few months to a year, year and a half. So the highway department, for instance, has ordered trucks that we may not see now for another year, a year and a half in service. Not entirely sure I can give you an explanation as to why that is. There are a number of supply chain considerations. There are fuel efficiency and other requirements that are starting to blossom. And then there's, I think, a certain amount of pent-up demand all around the world, and this becomes scarce, scarce goods. So scarcity breeds higher prices. That's pretty much where we are with the capital budget. A number of the projects that are being completed now will open the door to have a number of items that were approved in the past by town meeting to be completed. So for instance, doing the roof in this building, which is approaching completion, will make it possible to do the fire alarm upgrade, because now we won't worry about leaking roof spaces, destroying a brand-new alarm system. Having said that, the cost of all those things has gone up quite a bit since town meeting approved those funds too. So we'll be looking to reprogram and enhance some of the existing town meeting authorizations at a future town meeting in order to finish up some of the secondary pieces of the major project. The only other thing the two things I want to put on your radar screen as a committee, one is when the water department does its ARPA, mostly ARPA-funded project, replacing the water pipe up Depot Street, it will be running a separate fire suppression service into Town Hall. Right now, our domestic and fire suppression service are one pipe, it's supposed to be two by code. Once we've upgraded that service into the building, and it really, with a new alarm and a new sprinkler service coming into the building, there would be no reason not to sprinkler the second floor and begin to use the second floor of this building.
Other than storage.
For something other than storage. So what does that mean? There's a capital project involved in digitizing all of the records that we have upstairs so that even if they were to be destroyed by the natural course of aging, that we would have them forever electronically. That was the last time we got an estimate, about a $300,000 project. And it creates a capital asset because it's basically a database with a huge amount of data in it that would need to be maintained on a secure server. We would have any other code requirements necessary to occupying that second floor. So the sprinklers would have to be paid attention to. We would have to pay attention to all the lavatories, making sure that they're all properly equipped and up to modern standards. The elevator does make the second floor of this building ADA accessible, so we would not have to deal with that issue. In the long-term interest of the community, the more we maximize the use of this building, the lower the costs are going to be to run the town. So as we're currently configured, there's some either-or proposition, either for the police department or some other department of the town to make use of all of the space in this building, and for us not to need to build any structure other than the highway barn. So that's the second thing I want to bring to your attention, is that I strongly recommend that anyone who's interested in this topic watch the Building and Facilities Committee meetings that were a year ago or 2 years ago now. I want to say a year and a half or
Yeah.
close to 2
Yeah,
years,
Yeah, probably 2 years.
where we did tours
Yes.
of the highway barn and listed out all of the significant considerations that are going into the need to replace that building. Because we covered a number of things like not having space, the air quality being unhealthy, and that modern equipment, brand-new equipment, simply doesn't even fit in the building. So it's a shame to spend millions of dollars on trucks and front-end loaders and excavators and whatnot, but backhoes, and not store it properly in a dry but cold setting, so at least you're getting the maximum life out of the stuff. A lot of work has been done through a subcommittee of the Select Board and as well as the BFCC in trying to understand the best location and configuration of a new highway barn. For purposes of discussion, it will be necessary to separate the purchase of real estate from the construction of a building. We identified a piece of real estate, or 2 lots, 1 location, that would be useful for the town in any scenario. So whether it was public safety station or highway barn or any other facility that the town was going to build, and we arrived at that conclusion with the help of Weston and Sampson, who went through and did a feasibility study regarding the development of any town-owned properties for the purposes of building a building. And after that process was completed, it was very clear that the purchase of real estate was a much better use of town funds than attempting to develop some of our existing holdings, either the mobile pipeline or some of the property that the town owns on Main Street behind the old VFW, which is really the old school building there, and the little brown house. The trouble with all of these locations is that they have a lot of exposure to wetlands and would require rather significant site work in order to be ready. And we're doing some due diligence now, but we believe the location we've identified for a potential highway barn would actually be minimal site work would be required. So to the extent that the town would spend money on the building, it would be mostly for the building and not for all the work that goes into preparing the site for a building. We believe we've identified funding resources that will be sufficient to purchase the real estate at fall town meeting without any additional raise and appropriate from the taxpayer. So we have unused levy capacity. So it's, in other words, I budgeted a surplus, and that surplus remains. And then there's some money that will potentially be available from overlay, because we're not expecting the warehouse owner to appeal their value. And quite a long time has gone by since they got their value, and we haven't heard any.
No, they'll get the value in December.
They'll get the value in December, but I think what they told us the building would be worth
Yeah.
is pretty much where you ended up. So they're not going to be surprised or disappointed or angry, I don't think. But we'll know by next year. So what we'll be looking for town meetings of authorization is after the appeals period is over and the finance director releases the overlay. If the funds are there, then they could be expended for real estate. So it's a kind of a complicated process with multiple moving parts, and deadlines set out into the future. But we want to get the ball rolling on this so that we can have a closing and be in a position to focus on just the specifics of a building and the architectural design and everything that goes into what it is that we're going to try to do. And by separating the things into two pieces, we will do one with, basically, I'm going to, for lack of a better word, cash, and the only thing the town would be borrowing for is the actual construction, all right? So we wouldn't be rolling the real estate into the bond. So, saving about a little bit less than $1 million off the bond for that. Are there any questions? Those are all major capital investments, and I'll stop there.
Good.
Way back to Pine, Sand, and Stone, what's up with that? I mean, I'm not part of, well, you're involved, you're involved. But I'm not, so I'm, and I don't watch every selectmen's meeting.
Right, so at the risk of condensing a lot of information into an unfortunate summary, I'll put it this way. Pine, Sand, and Gravel as a site is a large commercial site with multiple owners, or that own the underlying property, that all agreed through a joint agreement that they would allow the mining and exploitation of the sand and gravel resources on their properties together as a joint venture, and that would benefit accordingly. So you have George DeVries and Mary Bedoyan, and I think there might still be some piece that might be owned by Carol Gogolinski, unless she sold it all to Pine, but there are 3 or 4 owners there. As the pit has come to the end of its run as a source for material, because it's pretty much spent out, those owners said, let's stay together and sell this together as one piece, more or less, to a bidder. And that process was conducted close to 2 years ago now, and the bidder that they selected was CRG. So the same buyer that has developed the warehouse on Gilboa Street. So they now have site control over virtually all of Pine, Sand, and Gravel. Now, exactly what happens here is up in the air. We have a conceptual plan that shows what they would do with the property if they were going to develop it as a typical distribution campus with at least 1 million square foot warehouse and a couple of smaller buildings that are still very large by anybody's standards, to about a total of 2.8 million square feet of logistics distribution space. And that is the plan that is progressing through the permitting process. I'm keeping my powder dry on this because they have obtained interest from more than one of the major players in the data center industry to develop the property for data centers. And for those who are not familiar with data centers, they're not quite as big as a warehouse. They're still really large buildings. They house massive numbers of computer servers that are either storing huge quantities of data or that are actively engaged in the artificial intelligence process. There's just a tremendous amount of computing power goes into having so-called artificial intelligence. And so these things have a number of characteristics. They use a tremendous amount of electricity. They need a significant amount of cooling, so even in the dead of winter, all that computer equipment running, even with modern technology, still heats up the air, so it needs to be cooled continuously. So it's the power is needed for computing, it's also needed for cooling. The benefits to the town are twofold. One is everything inside the building is taxable because it's not manufacturing, so there is no exemption for it. And secondly, while there would be a steady group of people who are staffing the place, they tend to be highly compensated people, and there wouldn't be truck traffic for distribution and logistics. Our task is to identify whether or not we can get the power company and the state government and everybody else to work together to get the power to this location in Douglas. We've got a few obvious positives. One is you have a high-pressure, huge gas line that runs through the eastern side of the property, alongside high-tension wires where you could either dump electricity or bring electricity in. So we've got a good site. The question is whether or not we can get everybody to work together in the time frame required to be able to develop it for a data center versus a warehouse. But it's such a, as good as the opportunity is for distribution, it's that much better for data center, so we're going to take a shot at convincing people to do it that way. CRG is a private company. They are profit-driven. They would not have taken this to this point. They would not have purchased a property and gone through the permitting if they weren't serious about doing a project in the near term, because they're not really interested in sinking all that money into all that land and just letting it sit there. That's not how they make money. So we're going to get something out of this that will do a lot for the town and free up a lot of resources. It's just exactly what it is, I'm not sure. That's a long-winded, but hopefully helpful answer to your question.
Thank you.
If I could keep you for just a couple moments, I went down and invited Mr. Benoit to come up because of these 3 items. So if you could come up, Matt, and review the first 3 items on our spreadsheet. We have green energy LED at Douglas Middle School, post office LED, and town hall LED, which you had put on for fiscal year '25, so it would have to go to the special town meeting. Can you run us through what you're looking for and what the urgency is of it?
Okay. Sure, the middle school project, we're hoping to apply for a green community grant. That grant would be typically awarded at some point in December, once we apply for it, and then we have to produce some sort of match. I think I put in for like 30,000. And the grant we're applying for is for the entire cost of the LED for the middle school. We can only get 100K in funding from that, so we'd have to match the rest, which cost less incentive is 23,000 plus 5,000 for CMRPC to administer it, comes to about 28 change, so I asked for 30. That's for the Green Community Grant. The other 2 projects, I was informed by National Grid that they would cover those 50% of cost if they were finished by December of this year. A little late to tell me about this,
Yeah.
but
And that's why I asked the administrator to, so what, for everybody's benefit, I always go, what's our deadline, and I work backwards from there, because you have the whole process, right? Yeah, advertisement and bidding and all that foolishness. Is that realistic that we could accomplish that?
Yes, because under Chapter 30B, energy conservation projects are exempt from the competitive bidding process.
okay, that's good. But one of the things I asked our consultant if he could get all 3 of these done, or 2 of these
Yeah.
done before the end of the fiscal year. He said it's unlikely. So, well, the only way that we could get any sort of, I guess, relief from National Grid is if we paid for these by on-bill repayment. That's something that's been not received well by our town. It's kind of still up in the air. I still want to try to pursue this, just in case we have the opportunity, but if it doesn't work out, then we have the funds to fund the projects entirely and get these LEDs built and on record. And there's a lot of payback. The payback period's 4 years on one. There's 3 years on the other. Post office project's pretty light. Town hall. It's a little more expensive, but there's certain improvements, and there's a lot of increased value on the property once we get these done. So I think there's a lot of pros whether we get them funded by National Grid or not.
So my concern would be is if your consultant doesn't think that it's going to get done, and we go through fall town meeting and we get the money appropriated for the projects, now the money's tied up in an account.
Yeah, for the full amount. And if National Grid covers half of it, then we get the other half back.
So the full amount is 23 and 97?
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me?
120,000.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
green
23 and 97, 120, yep.
229, was that? Sorry. With the incentive.
So your consultant is doing what portion of it that they don't think they can get it done? Outlining the project?
Right.
Anybody have any questions?
I asked for full funding on the project anyway, just because
Yeah.
if we can't get it compensated by National Grid, we at least get their incentives that are
Yeah.
within the spec.
And by doing this, this is all green energy related?
Yeah, it wouldn't be tied into the Green Community Grant, but
No, but does it help us on other things by being somewhat compliant, or for lack of a better description?
yeah, this would be all but the last remaining LED project is the elementary school. That was the most expensive one, so I
Yeah.
didn't pursue that.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Matt?
What's changing?
What do you mean?
I mean, I seem to see all the LED lights in all the offices and buildings here. What is this, what's this project doing?
In the town hall, what's $97,000 cover if we have LED lights already?
I don't,
We don't.
all the specs were on here.
Okay.
Yeah, these are, what, T8s, tubes?
Are they all T8s?
I think they
Okay,
are.
okay.
Those would be updated.
So we did some sort of lighting upgrade not that long ago.
Yeah, so I
But-
think Mike Kozinski did it in 2012.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay. 2012 seems like yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, but the technology's advanced, so they would look very similar to these panels.
Yeah.
It would just be a different lighting technology.
Yep, okay.
And does that include upstairs or just this first floor?
I don't think it included the upstairs.
No,
I could check into that.
I don't think it did. But I'm not sure what we're using downstairs. I'm not sure if those are older.
When's our special town meeting warrant closed? You remember?
The closest when you say it's closed?
Well,
As a
on the
select
select
board,
board, yes. But we just opened it the last
Just
meeting.
opened the
so-
last meeting. So the latest you could close it would be mid-October, like
Yeah.
the third week of October.
So Matt, could you just figure out if the upstairs is completed? We just had a conversation before you came in about the progression of eventually moving to the upstairs. I like doing all things and not half things, because then you're coming back and it's very confusing to the people at town meeting. Well, you just did that, right? Just like the conversation we just had. What do you mean you're going to do lights?
Yeah.
So if you could find that out, and then we'll have you come in at the next meeting, which
So
we'll
I'm
have one
thinking that
next
those
week.
lights up there were done when the school rehabbed that space
Yeah,
in 1996.
yeah.
So they might be 30 years old.
All right, yeah, I'll get that information for you.
Anybody have any more questions for either Matt?
Nope.
No, thank you, Matt.
Sure.
Thanks, Matt.
Okey-dokey.
No, you can't take
Oh,
my
come on,
spreadsheet.
come on.
I'll give you to you after I'm done.
Tried to steal a spreadsheet, didn't get into it.
I know, the spreadsheets, he kind of twitches a little bit. He likes them. Okay, so I had Lisa print out the current capital plan, just so we have it. We had talked about you incorporating the new spreadsheet that Courtney was kind enough to share with us, her idea. So that's what we had handed out today. So we have, okay, so I'm going to ask her to, I'll have those for the next meeting, just for the purpose of having it. What I wanted was the individual departments' spreadsheets as well. But the idea behind this master sheet was to eliminate the process of us all shuffling papers around to try to figure out if we caught everybody as the number one priority. So just trying to streamline it a little bit. So we have all these things that are on here, right? What I would like to do, and open for everybody's input as you see fit, is look at our existing capital plan that we have in place, 26 forward, right? We'll talk about the special town meeting for the 150,000 that Mr. Benoit's looking for. I have to find out how we get, if we have 150,000 that we can add into that, because it's going to affect next year's capital plan as well. But it seems, from what he's saying, it's part of a program that we're involved in.
Yes.
So anyways, we'll take this current capital list. We have our priorities here. It's easy enough to cross off things that might be matching up to see if we want to still keep those on there. Let's see, we have the 360,000 is on here for the paving. That's on there. I just had to put annual next to it and carry it forward on all sections, which she could have just put it at the top. I'll ask that to be corrected so we don't get confused. The other thing that's not in here is the $100,000 that we have in our special, what's that called now?
Stabilization.
Fire,
Special stabilization account, yeah. The special,
Fire engine
yeah,
stuff.
for the special stabilization account for the fire apparatus. I couldn't remember what the title of it was. So we want to show that just to remind us that it's there, because we're starting off 460,000 in the hole, for lack of a better description, or a deduction right off the top of whatever our capital budget comes to be. And then we need to clean this up, because if you look at, we just threw a bunch of stuff on there for fiscal year '29, but I want to clean that up this year because it's misleading as to what that's going to be. Fiscal year '29 shows $2.94 million, and unless we hit the lottery, I don't see that happening. Right.
It's a little misleading because it's a $750,000 fire truck to be offset by the stabilization account.
But still brings you down to 2 million, and we spend on an average of $1.2 million a year. So we need to clean that one up. That tanker truck, I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, is it on here on our list? Right? Did they put that on? I put that on the list because I was going on our 5-year rotation, so I just put it in there because nobody said anything to me, but I didn't want it to fall through the cracks on us.
Yeah.
So I added that into our list last year, just so it's acknowledged. And I don't see it on here.
what are we looking for?
The fire truck, $750,000 fire
Yeah, it's
truck.
under FY '29,
No, it's on this,
yeah.
this.
I don't see.
Yeah.
So this is just a
There's
reference
the
as
library
to,
building on this.
right.
Yeah.
So did they submit anything this year?
Yeah, they did this.
Okay.
Exterior masonry restoration
Fire did?
and sealing.
No library.
Oh, yeah, I don't see anything on here for fire at all.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
this was,
And this is why I didn't want any departments to come in on this meeting, so we can just regroup a little bit, get our thoughts, and try to clean up our list a little bit. So we don't have our library on the library renovations.
handicapped accessibility. I mean, that was at this annual town meeting voted on in 2024. So I don't know if it has to be on it again, but I don't see the highway barn anywhere.
The highway bond is on
Right.
priority 2, it's on the first.
Yeah. On this,
It's on priority 1 on our spreadsheet,
Yeah.
yes. On this here, somehow or another it got dropped off our list. We used to keep it on the bottom, and,
It's right here. This has a little asterisk next to it.
oh, so the handicap accessibility is under
yeah,
fiscal year '26, but the highway bond isn't on there.
no.
And we used to keep that on there for a to be determined.
And what about the public safety building? Wasn't that going to happen somewhere?
We haven't got to that point. It's a public safety complex, like a police and fire combination, you mean?
Yeah.
That hasn't surfaced up in the conversations yet.
Oh,
It might have been
yeah.
briefly thrown around, but it hasn't gone through. That would be something that we would be looking for a recommendation from Building and Facilities to send that to us. And I don't think Building and Facilities is considering that as of yet. I don't want to put the,
And you're nodding your head, that's true. Okay.
Not yet.
No,
They
yeah.
can't hear it on
Yeah.
the microphone. Oh,
Yeah, there's a huge wish list in everybody's head, and as the town administrator just explained, is we have to be financially conscious as to where we're going. We're not as deep pocket as we might have been for a couple of years, right? That was just a unusual situation, I guess. Hopefully we recover and we keep moving forward. Just to touch on what he said about the fire truck, I didn't want to tie him up into a conversation. That ladder truck that he said it was 1.8 million in today's money. In 2020, I was working in the town of Harwich, and they bought the almost very similar truck, a 75-foot ladder with the tank and the pumper on and all that, and it was 1,030,000. So now they've gone up 80% in 4 years.
And ours initially was a freebie, wasn't it?
Yep.
It was a grant, was it? Yes. Yep.
From 9.
So if you feel ambitious and you can write grants really good, get us another
Well,
one.
no, I'm not doing that. I think they just gave it. You know, they were. it
We
was-
had to write an appeal, which I wrote to Senator Kerry,
Okay, good.
along with some other people. And that's when the hurricane struck. And it was suggested that we send it back and let the funds go for the hurricane. And I'm like, no way.
Okay, so we have the library accessibility is not on the list. We want that on the list, and the highway bond.
Yep.
And the transfer to stabilization.
Yeah. So looking for some input from everybody. Do you feel that this is a process that we want to continue with as far as the spreadsheet in this format? So try to organize it so we can make better decisions. Anybody have any opinion or suggestions?
Just something to tie this to this. Is there, we add any information on saying, is added to the capital plan on a fiscal, in fiscal year, for fiscal year? So we know when we're looking at this, we say, okay, the highway signed message boards, okay, well, we put that on the capital plan for 27. So we know it's on the plan already, not just an unacted on request.
Okay, so if I understand, you want to show another column of the
Yeah, we have when it was asked,
submitted year.
well, we have when it was asked for. But if the board says, hey, we want to put this on, we want to put this in next year, we're in 20, we're working on 26, we want to put it on 27. So we know on this plan here, okay, we decided we're going to put that on 27.
Okay, so I get what you're saying. So actually, we have the year that they're asking to implement it, right? So that's the fiscal year requested.
Right.
I think we need a column that says year submitted. So then we know
How long you're waiting for.
when we got it, right?
Yeah.
And now, and as you were talking, I started looking down the list. I haven't had a chance to see this because I got it at the same time you did, and I haven't been paying attention to this list until right now. So as you were talking, I'm looking through this. There's a couple different things that I see on here that we have to clean up. We'll just stay on priority 1 column. If you go to the 1, 2, 3, 4th column, the broadcast server, fiscal year 32, because we just got them one. Right? So even though it's a priority 1 for them, then we have to give some feedback to our departments because it isn't a priority 1 because they just got a brand-new one, and it's not for another 8 years, right? So that's not a priority one, right?
Yeah.
It's probably, so if this is 26, 27, let me do it like this, 26, 27. Maybe that's how we, 27, 28,
A year.
29, 30, 31, right? So if we turn around and instead of the importance of, they can decide the importance on their own, but we're trying to understand their interpretation of priority one. We're in two different spots, right? So priority one means fiscal year '26. Priority two would mean fiscal year '27, so on and so forth. So then it'll make it much easier for us to look at it. Because until I went to this column, I'm looking at all these priority ones, priority twos, because of the way they were submitted. So does everybody agree with that, or any different thoughts on that?
Well, I wonder, Mike, because it's a spreadsheet, is there another way to use this information to have it organized by department? In other words, have a heading that says highway, and you could just see the history of everything they asked for.
So what you don't have right now, because Lisa probably misunderstood what I asked for, I wanted this for us to help us organize, and to make sure we didn't miss somebody, right? But also, I want the department submission, which is what you just suggested, right? I want to get away from that portion of it, because if with all my shuffling of papers, all of a sudden now I don't have the police department. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot all about the police. This way here, I can look at it and I have everybody on that list, right? And now I want backup information. Okay, so the police department, okay, here's some backup information on that.
So if we had that also, we could be reminded, oh yeah, you guys asked for this thing
Yeah.
4 years ago. Or
Yep, so this is my other thought process, strategy, or however you want to think about it, right? And I'm going to pick on you, Ellie. If I say to Ellie, I want you, for your department of XYZ, I want you to submit your Excel spreadsheet to me every year, and because now you own everything on that list. So if you got a grant, you got donated money, or whatever, and you get that thing off the list, you're responsible for figuring that out. Up until today, we're trying to figure out all these papers. We have them everywhere. I want a master list that Lisa Freeman will turn around and she'll update that per your submission, right? But we also have record of it that you never asked for it before, and you said, it's always been there. Well, not according to our master list. It hasn't always been there in XYZ department, okay? It's just an example, not picking on nothing.
I didn't have to say anything.
No. I know you giggled a little bit, so I figured I'd just acknowledge it. But that way, we just have a master list and we know exactly what's going on. And this helps the administrator, the finance committee, the town accountant, and everything to see what's going on if they're going through the finance committee's going through their budget process, and they want to know some history. This can easily be shared with them, and they understand it. Say, so okay, they can ask some questions in between because they're approving the annual town budget.
And then I think another way that would be helpful if we could look at it by department too is we might say, oh wow, look at the fire. They haven't asked for anything for 3 years, and now they have. I mean,
Right.
it gives you a little sense of who over years has come.
Are you saying that this is beneficial, because the master one or the individual department
I think
papers?
Because it's a spreadsheet, you can produce both.
Right, so they're producing their own individual spreadsheet. And all I'm doing is asking to have it all compiled into one spreadsheet for us to work off of, because it'll be less confusing, because now I can take all this stuff, I can put it aside, and I can look at this and say, okay, we have all these departments. If you, as a department, turn around and don't ask for anything, it's not our concern. right? You need to, if you need something, you need to ask for it, and if we can make it work, we make it work.
So do the departments know that they're supposed to be submitting everything that hasn't, that they've done in the past as well?
I haven't seen the email, so what was requested from them was a spreadsheet that was due on August 30th. What I'll do, and this is all part of a process, right? We're at the very infant stage of this thing and trying to somewhat perfect our system. So we have this stuff, we have this list of capital lists that's already been approved at town meeting, right? We look at that, and Ellie from XYZ, you only said that you needed these couple things, but we have all these on capital. Well, I didn't submit those, I didn't think I should. Okay, so now we can help you. It's just communication. Now we end up getting that put onto a list, right? So if I ask you for a new list of priorities, and you put priority 1, 2, and 3, and you neglected to put the other stuff that you thought was really important, because that was on there before, you need to help us, because this is just a part-time thing for us, and we show up for a few months out of the year. It's unrealistic to expect the committee to try to remember the priorities of every single individual department. So I want the departments to own their own spreadsheet. It's up to them to put on what they need or desire, whatever the case may be, and submit it to us. So then we have a good list and they own it. So, and then we, as a group, will always have a master list, because it's easier, because now instead of the Finance Committee decides, we want to see all the capital requests. So now Lisa's trying to dig through all the stuff and sending them a ton of paperwork, which you could send them one spreadsheet and say, here you go, here's the master sheet, right? We're not wasting their time because it's organized. They can look at it, they can intelligently go through it and say, yep, all right, all these things on here. Hey, we're gonna XYZ wants new scrub brushes this year, but next year they're gonna be asking for the sink. Why don't we just put their scrub brushes and their sink together, right? And then it's up to XYZ to say why they need their scrub brush today. So it's helpful for everybody that's involved in this entire process. And what I'm trying, my goal is to try to get us into a good system that works for anybody. So it doesn't matter who jumps in any seat here at the table, they can pick up immediately and see what's going on. I don't know about you guys, but I'm confused each year, walking and looking through a gazillion pieces of paper and all my old notes from last year and all this other stuff, and trying to get your head around it.
Yeah,
This
but
way
you get
here.
all that lovely one-sided paper that you can recycle.
Right.
That's what I depend on.
Yep.
That's the only reason why I'm on this
Yeah,
committee.
that's the only reason that the CEO of the XYZ department
Yeah, right.
comes to this meeting, is just so she can get the recycled paper.
Right.
Yeah. But anyways, all joking aside, that's the goal of this process, is to try to do that. So I found my first glitch in the system as to the requested years. It's kind of hard to argue with this committee that, and unfortunately I'm picking on cable, that their community recording room, resource recording, resource room PA, and the broadcast servers are all priorities ones when they have them fiscal 28 through 32, right? I know that our community room recording, their microphones, I don't know if anybody's watched any meetings in that room, extremely staticky and scratchy, very hard to hear what's going on with that. I would argue with them to put that up sooner than later because of the condition of it. They probably should move that up to 27, if you ask me my opinion, only because I've listened to a few of the recordings and they're in tough shape.
But is it because they're funding it from
No, they're not. Nope.
self-funded?
So they had,
Yeah, they have it listed as a self-funded.
oh, all right. My correction.
So
Yep.
they are
Yep.
prioritizing it.
Yep.
I believe, sorry, but I think that was said because we have to know what they're spending.
Right.
And then it
Yep.
gets-
Yeah, I missed out on the self-funding, so it takes my brain a little bit
No.
to restart each year, so.
I do have.
You can reconsider that chairman's vote if you want.
No,
No, just saying.
stop it.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, we're just going over this briefly, Brandon. I know you got to head out, so we'll set up the next meeting. What's your availability?
I'm available anytime.
Anytime? Okay,
Except when I'm
so
working, I
from
gotta
now until 3:30, you're available? Well, not that today. Okay.
Yeah, when I'm working,
So
then
what
it's
we're going to do is, we're going to go over this, and I'll talk to the rest of the group and find out what their desires are, but we need to, well, the most important thing is we got to figure out this green energy stuff. We got to make a decision on that very quickly. We'll talk about that a little bit more today, Brandon. If we end up making a vote on it, we end up making a vote on it. If we want to review, okay, so everything says possible votes. So if we make a vote on that, we need to expedite it because, if we're going to do it, because there's no time, right? And then, so we'll talk about whether or not we're going to meet once more before we bring in departments, because it's not overly critical, because the only thing that's important right now is the special town meeting.
Right.
Okay? So I think we should, my own opinion is we probably should clean up our little game plan here before we bring in departments to go through them.
I agree.
So, thanks, Brandon.
All right, thank you.
So with that, why don't we just digest what we just talked about real quick for a little while and just jump into that LED so we can decide if we want to take time to think about that until the next meeting. We want to vote on it today. I'm open to either or. I'm not trying to streamline it, but I'm concerned about timing. That
25.
it's going to go on the special town meeting, so it'll be out of free cash that'll have to fund it, right? If they, by luck, which Mr. Benoit doesn't feel confident that his consultant's going to be able to meet the timeline, the town administrator, from a procurement portion, feels that we could. So, but if they don't have their stuff done in time, we're not going to be able to do it.
Mike,
Yes.
could we have a copy of the email that was sent out to the department heads, just to see how it was worded? Was it
Yep.
straightforward or anything like that? Or was there confusion on the department
Yep.
heads?
What I'll do is I'll go get that right now. If the group could just discuss that LED thing, I'm open either way, so I'm not worried about missing part of that discussion. Guys, Ben, you want to take that over?
Sure. Thoughts?
I suppose the two questions is, do we have the free cash to fund this out of 25 from the remainder of last year or any turnbacks? The second question would be, what I asked Matt, what are we getting for this?
That's the part I was confused on.
Yeah, and then I certainly want to know if we're going to, if we're doing the upstairs, and then I look at 26 and we have municipal floor and carpet replacement for 75, and first and second floor renovation for 150. I don't know what we're getting for $150,000 of renovation. I'd be lucky to get the carpets for that money. Do we repurpose that money possibly for this lighting project and get a better grasp of what those projects actually are?
Where did you read the other things?
On FY '26.
Oh, on
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
other sheet?
yeah.
Yeah, halfway down.
Yeah, okay.
That's just the way I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Being,
I just don't know what we're getting.
that's why I don't know
Yeah.
what we're getting.
Is there a use it or lose it with green communities? I mean, if we don't do it now, will this green community opportunity not be around a year from
Well,
now?
that one I'm less hesitant on, because it sounds like that one is we're chipping in 30, the grant is 100, and it's gonna do the school.
Oh, okay.
It's the post office and town hall with the National Grid 50% cover that, I mean, is it just putting LED bulbs, LED fixtures in all of the lights? Is it parking lot lighting? Is it exterior building lighting?
What is it?
What is it?
So
And how-
maybe we should have Mr. Benoit come back?
Well, I don't think he was.
I think he had to go check and see if it was
Yeah.
upstairs.
He didn't even know if it was
Yeah.
first floor or second floor.
Because this has also come before Building and Facilities. And he was, I believe, having trouble getting information when it first, and it came out late, as he mentioned. So then it's National Grid doesn't feel the consultant could get it done. But then, as you say, how much what are we getting? It's how much is it going to cut down on our electric?
Well, yeah, it sounds like the paybacks are in a couple.
Yeah.
Which is hopefully good. Hopefully the numbers are as realistic.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I don't know what the paybacks would be, you know.
Right,
So,
they're going to tell you the best numbers.
did we save a lot of money? I mean, we've always had fluorescent lights in this room, right?
Well, outside, I think we got a report that it had saved quite a bit of money.
Okay.
But does
But
that
it-
transform inside? I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the streetlight projects are like,
Yeah,
They save
really
money.
good.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Lots of money on the
Okay,
streetlight projects.
yeah.
I don't know, what do we have for any parking lot lights out here? Do we have just building
I
them?
come here at night sometimes. It's light out, but I don't really pay attention.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever paid attention to what's out there for, well, I don't know, some poles, unless they're in an island. But that's it, what is it? What is it, replacing fixtures? Is it putting LED bulbs in the fluorescent sockets? Is it,
I don't know if they had to replace anything else. Does anybody?
Yeah.
is it putting motion sensors? I don't know, they used to do that in the schools, they put the motion sensors in all the rooms, and you'd be sitting there taking a test, and the lights go out, you'd have to,
Yeah.
your arms turn back on.
Okay.
So I don't think today we're gonna have the information to really make a decision.
I
I think we need
agree.
to know
I agree.
what it does before we decide. If it's first floor, second floor, outside.
The post office, and even at the post office, is it the whole building or just the post office area? Are we not doing a community center?
For the adults.
Yeah, just
Social
Social
center.
center, right.
So to shift gears a little bit, everybody, so if you look at this, 26, is that supposed to be the same as this?
Well, that's what Mike was saying, the
Because
floor.
number one is FY '26, right? So are these supposed to be the same things? Because
I
they're,
think, Dick, I think that's something he's got to get straightened out because it didn't get done the way
it
he
didn't
thought.
work the way he thought it would.
Right.
It doesn't seem to be a true
Yeah.
correlation between what's on here and what's on here, which is what I was trying to
Yeah,
get to, is not having to look at both of these.
right.
This is something I had done last year on my own. I just made this chart with the apartment at the top. And then as you look down, you can see a history of what everybody asked for, when they asked for it,
Yeah.
which was what you could do with a spreadsheet. You could just tell it to reorder by your fields. So if we could combine both of those, I think that would be helpful.
That's
Did
something
Mike
Mike's
ever
going to be
see this?
working on.
Did you show that to Mike?
I did, yeah.
Okay. And he ignored you?
No, he,
I wasn't even in the room. I left you guys to talk about LED lights,
Yeah, we did.
And we did.
and I came back in, you're changing the engine on the pickup truck.
No, that was Dick. Mike,
I was thinking out loud, like,
yeah. Mike, we're hesitant because as one mentioned,
Are we
Is it
talking
the
about the
whole-
spreadsheet?
no,
How about the lights?
the lights.
Yeah.
Is it the whole
Post
town
office.
hall?
So that's what Mr. Benoit's going to find out.
Okay.
So I know I had said that it didn't matter to me one way or the other what we do with it, whether we vote on it now or later. It would probably make sense not to vote on it now, right? But we have to give it strong consideration as to what we want to do with it, right?
Yep.
So on the very next meeting, I wanted on there to
I agree.
make a decision on that.
Yep.
And it's Benoit's job, and we have him on tape, to come up with the answer as to whether or not it includes the entire town hall, because like I had said, I don't like to do half things, I like to
Town
do
hall
all
is the
things.
municipal center, right?
Yes.
But even further that question, on here it says post office, is it the whole social center to the whole building or just the leased area of the post office? So it's almost the same question in that building.
I'm going to go get Mr. Benoit. I'm going to bring him back down here. Who likes to do public reading? Anybody? You? You don't mind doing it? Good. I knew you.
New voluntold.
Read this. This is just a follow-up. And you just say this is what's been submitted to the...
All right, so this is the email that was sent to the department heads from Lisa Freeman. I'll repeat myself, this is the email as you requested that was sent to the department heads from Lisa Freeman. Capital Committee will start meeting again in early September, date pending, to start the process of reviewing requests. This year, we are asking that each department head submit information using the attached Excel spreadsheet and return to me no later than August 30th. Also include quotes, additional details, etc., and indicate priority, 1 high, 2 medium, 3 low. Any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you, Lisa Freeman.
So it was not your history of asking or what's pending for you, like the handicapped accessibility for the library?
Yes, I do not have on here what was sent to, if they were sent a blank spreadsheet or if they were sent a spreadsheet with their existing requests on it.
So they did not adhere to the request.
It's not clear based on
Yeah.
what we were given. Like I said, all it said was the attached spreadsheet. I don't know if the spreadsheet had the
Sure.
previous requests on it, and you should add, delete, modify, or if they were just blank.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to jump off that subject for a minute. I brought Mr. Benoit back. The question arose whether or not the post office includes the social center as well. So
Social center was already done.
that was already done.
Yes. Yeah, we did that 2 rounds ago.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a good question.
Yeah. And the Douglas Middle School, will that be the complete school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're less concerned about that one, because it sounds like that's a Green Communities grant.
Yes.
And so our 30 is backing 100,
Yep.
is matching for $100,000 of investment on that, doing the whole school.
I was trying to save the exercise of going down the hall again, so that's why I asked.
Yeah.
And does anybody have anything else for Matt on that?
I think just what are we getting? Is it fixtures, is it light switches, is it infrastructure? What are we replacing?
I don't think they're doing any dimming or anything like that. I think it's just the lighting.
The fixtures themselves. Yeah. Yeah. So for our next meeting, you'll get the information whether or not, what part, how much of the town hall does it include, right? Was the police station already done as far as the LEDs?
I thought it was, but I'll double
Yeah,
check.
just double check. We might as well, when we're looking at buildings, let's just make it a habit of being able to answer whether it's the entire building, part of the building.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily departments, because you have multiple departments under one roof in this particular
Says minutes
situation.
for the police station and the town hall. But I'll find out if it's the second floor as well.
Yeah, it's the municipal center, because a lot of people get confused with the town hall being where the post office is.
Yeah.
So on here, what you're saying is it should say municipal center.
Yeah.
So is it the post office, the real post office, or the one that was next to Gregory's in that little alcove?
I love that place.
All right, Matt, I think that's all we have for you. Sorry to interrupt you.
No problem.
Yep. Okay, as I walked in and heard, we're just identifying some of our holes in our system. And I'm just reading this as well. I didn't read it before I handed it to Chris to read. We'll have to stress the importance of that department actually put all their requests on, but it's not necessarily,
Yeah, but Chris said he didn't, you didn't, not included there. There was something about a spreadsheet that
It
was
says
attached.
they're using the attached spreadsheet, but it doesn't say in there if their existing items on the capital request were already, pre-filled out with.
correct, and that's what I was trying to say, is they need to put all their stuff on that spreadsheet,
should
right?
put everything.
So, but I'm not necessarily disappointed at the fact that there was miscommunication with that, because we need to go back to them anyways. And if everybody's in agreement that the priorities are associated with the fiscal year, right?
I would rather just say leave their priorities on our spreadsheet, so we know we're looking at two different things for, say, the highway department. What's their priority, but add on our side what fiscal year we have it on our plan. And then sort ours by fiscal year that we have, so this and this kind of line up a little bit for us to look at. And we can shuffle things between fiscal years.
Well, who puts the priority down? Was that
Well, the departments are putting their priorities down. I'm confused by looking at it, because now it makes me do a lot of back and forth, because Chris brought that to my attention about the fiscal year, and that's over 2 more columns, right?
Yeah.
I'm no longer looking at the priority, because normally I would look at the priorities and look and see what it is, and see what the cost is, and see what the notes are, right? I'm skipping all these other things. If it's a real strong consideration, then I'm looking at the funding source. That's how my head's working through it, right? So as I'm looking through this, so would a priority 6 or a priority 4 be pretty low on our consideration? Don't flip through your papers, it's a simple question. Forget about what's on your list, I'm asking this for a reason.
I think you accept the department heads prioritizing their requests. And they're the expert in their field, so if,
Okay, but I get that, and I fully respect that, and I can appreciate it. From our standpoint, we're trying to come up with a list based off of priority. So we as a group, where does 6 fit in? It'll never make the cut for us on a year, right? Because if you flip to your second page, right? Douglas High School LCD projectors is a priority 6, but it's on next year, right? Go to the top, we have a
But who-
6-wheel dump truck, which is a priority 3, it's on next year.
What I don't understand here is because the exterior masonry restoration and sealing at the library is priority 2. Now, if that was the only thing submitted by the library this year, why would they say it's a priority 2? It almost goes to, well, that says fiscal year 2026, so is that a, no?
Yeah, well, see, that's something that we would ask them when they came in, and I fully agree with what you're saying, because we have all these priority 1s, we could actually eat up fiscal year '26 before we even got the priority 2 list, right? So if we know, I would rather see a list of everything that people want or need in '26, right? And what they need in '27. So that's where we have an association with the priorities, right? If we're flipping through this list and all of a sudden I come across a priority one, well, it's just in the wrong spot. I know that's a fiscal year '26. I'm gonna look and say, yeah, it is '26. It's just in the wrong spot, right? Right now, the priorities don't, because of the way this list is, I'm automatically dismissing the priority now. Because it doesn't make sense to me. You can't tell me that it's a priority one when you don't want it for 8 years. And I'm not trying to pick on any particular department. I'm just saying, right? So we have all the priority twos are in fiscal year 20. Every priority two and every priority three is fiscal year 20, well, no. 2 of the threes are fiscal year '26. 1 of the 4s is fiscal year '26. 1 of the 5 is fiscal year '26. 1 of the 6 is fiscal year '26,
We have a
right?
But, so I
Yeah.
don't think it was the department head that put the priority on it.
Yes, it was.
No, because the handicapped accessibility isn't on this list, and the only thing that the library submitted, I think, to the, in response to the email.
The request.
Yeah, was, and it doesn't say specifically in there unless you have a copy of the spreadsheet.
We're going to have all the spreadsheets for the next meeting. There's a lot of way to ask a question.
Was this way not? Just
But this doesn't include everything on here. There are
Right,
things that requested
exactly.
that never made the plan.
Yeah.
But these are what we agreed to.
Right. I would like to see more of this. I would like to see this in this order.
Or put all of these as priorities for ones for those fiscal years,
Yeah,
because we've already voted on them.
yeah, these are on the plan, that, those items that are on here, we should be able to sort this in this order and say, okay, well, we've got this 26 thing that we're gonna scrap. What's the next priority one thing that, or a couple priority one, priority two, that we can reappropriate that money to that we're in maybe the next fiscal year? You know, something falls off, or something's gonna get pushed back a year because they're not ready, they don't, the money's not there.
Yeah.
It's no longer needed.
Well, I think myself, what happens too is, so as we're going down and placing the priorities, wherever it be, it comes up, okay, we've only got X amount of money left, and we can fit,
A priority 3, a priority 5. a priority-
yeah. That's what's been happening, right?
Yep.
And that's how we've been able to get some stuff done, that,
But a priority, you know, look at the fire truck. We know we don't need the fire truck for 5 years, but it's really important. It's a priority 1 for them. But it might be fiscal 29, 30. So we shouldn't even consider it till fiscal 30, other than maybe getting it on the fiscal 30 list, you know, in our official plan. Being a priority 1 for a department, priority 1 for us, in my opinion. More, they have their 5 or 6 things, and they rank them 1 through 6.
So I'm going to interrupt you, everybody. I'm going to address what Ally asked for us, and I am not walking out of this room again today. The library submitted priority number 2, exterior masonry restoration and sealing, fiscal year 26, useful life 10 years, amount $55,000, free cash with a question mark. Is a project item mandated by law? No. Contractor recommends re-waterproofing bricks every 10 years after fixing. Everything that is on this spreadsheet is per whatever was submitted by the departments. We are not making up or changing their priorities or anything like that. So I'm going to go back to what I first stated, because I was just listening to this conversation. We can take things, if we have an extra $8,000 for a steam kettle and insert it in there, that's where we've done in the past, okay? And that could be that it's not requested for 2 years. Well, if it's a need and we can replace it, then we can fit that in. So that's a given. Understand, this is very confusing. Everybody's got a different thought on how this is going, and that was the whole purpose of doing this to start with, because we go through the same stuff every single year. I think Einstein has the definition down. Do the same thing over and over and over again is the definition of insanity. I'm tired of being crazy. So the goal here is to simplify this and streamline it, right?
Yep.
And I think what's come out of our conversation, which may make sense, is the next fiscal year becomes priority one. The one after that, so the next year that we're doing right now is fiscal year '26. That would be a priority one. Fiscal year would be a priority 2, 3, so on and so forth, right? And by doing it that way, before I say this, so now when we get through fiscal year '26 and '27, we're talking about '27, everything that was it moves. Number 2 becomes number 1, right? So the priority keeps shifting with the years. The year is the next year that you're doing, right? So then we can look at any item. If I just hand anybody a random paper and it says fiscal year, it says priority 1, you don't even have to look to see what fiscal year it is. You know that it's fiscal year '26 because that's the next one's coming up. Right? It's going to make it really simple for all of us, because now we're sitting here and we're doing more work than we were before we even started, because now we're trying to figure out priority 1, what year is it in? What year is that in? It's very confusing, right? I'm trying to eliminate that, is what the goal was on this. If anybody has a better system or a different suggestion on this, I'm more than happy to hear it. But we need to come up with a system that actually will work. And the priority, I don't even know what that priority means to anybody. Priority 1 to me is the most important thing that needs to be done today, right?
So Mike,
Yes.
so the way we proceeded last year to create this, what was the biggest flaw in that system? Did you feel?
Well, some of the things that have surfaced through it. So this, what you're looking at there, is the end result of when Ken Vincent was on the board with us, or the committee with us, and we went through and we created a really good 5-year plan. We went through it, but as time goes on, things move around a little bit. So your priorities or things that have gotten accomplished come off the list. So the list that we have isn't bad, except for fiscal year 2029, where we just threw everything at it to fill in the space, which probably was the wrong approach, but we were all pretty tight at that point, and we just created a list, right? We need to clean it up, because it's misleading to have it like that. This list could stay like this, right? Why don't we just take a few minutes and let's look through 26. Right? So we have roadway paving. Do we agree we're going to keep that on?
Yeah.
All right. That it was a unanimous head nod from everybody, and a couple verbals. The transfer to capital stabilization account, the $100,000 for the fire apparatus.
Where are you?
Where are?
Down the bottom of 26, the third line from the bottom.
So why are you jumping around?
Because that's, I know.
You humor me for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just answer the question, and then I'll tell you my motivation.
So which one might be?
Okay, so roadway paving, we're agreeing that we're keeping that on.
Yep.
If we go down to transfer to capital stabilization account, the fund for $100,000, do we agree we keep those on?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
let's
road.
talk about everything between those two lines, right?
Yeah.
So to the Bunsen burner shut-offs, right? Does anybody sitting here know whether or not have been done?
No.
That's my point, okay? The school, and I'm gonna use this for an example, and I'm not picking on a department, it's just an example, nothing more, nothing less. There was a track that was on for a number of years, then there was a lot of discussion around it, and then it was off the list for some reason or another. To this day, I still don't know why. But they ended up with a grant, and they got their tractor. We don't know that until we get an updated spreadsheet each year. So that's why I want the departments to own it, right? So now when we go through this, I don't want to waste everybody's time, bring them in and say, so, Miss XYZ, did you get your Bunsen burner? Oh, yeah, I got that. Oh, it would have been nice to know. Well, I forgot to tell you, right? So to eliminate that, they need to own their spreadsheet, right? So there's a little bit of work to be done. The only urgency that we have right now is this LED discussion, but I think, and probably we don't even bring in any department right now because we don't need to. Not that big of a rush. The only thing we need to bring in is the green communities discussion on this LED stuff. This rest of this thing, we should work on as a group to try to assemble what we're looking for and come up with our guidelines as to what we can help the departments get to where we need to be. And I understand that there's things on here that haven't been done, that haven't been added to the spreadsheet that we have, that have to be put on here to get cleaned up. But we also need to give them feedback as to how to figure out this priority thing, right? So, their urgency, they need to tell, I think the urgency should be dictated by the year in which they need it. Because then that would, and that might be part of their thought process, but we're assuming and guessing, right? So,
But that's their fiscal year requesting though.
go down, and priority one, go to the bottom line.
Right, FY '32.
Okay, so
That's when they're looking for it, it's a priority one, but 7 years from now.
priority one, yeah. We need to figure out what's a priority for us as a committee in order to put it on the list, right? I understand what you're saying, that it's a priority for them, but they can't, yeah, in 8 years, it's gonna be a priority if he's still here, for him personally, right? We need to know what year that it's actually requested for to help us come about, because as we do our 5-year plan, if we're out 5 years from now, we fiscal year 30, in fiscal year 30, he wants a resource room PA system in this room right here, right? We haven't created 30 yet, so it's easy for us to get it on the list. Very difficult for us to get it on 26, because it's already packed, right? What I'm trying to do is come up with a better system that'll more streamline it, so we can accomplish goals and don't disappoint people, right? People are going to be disappointed, I get that. You don't always get what you want, but there's got to be a better way to go about what we're doing. We're trying to shuffle through papers, which I find it very frustrating to do it that way. I don't know how anybody else feels. I could walk into the mail room right now and take out that 1.5 inches of paper that I typically carry around with me and to try to go through all the notes and stuff. I prefer something like this much cleaner, so then we can just very organized. You can easily sit with this after dinner, and if you choose to use your free time that way and look through it and say, oh yeah, okay, and make your own little notes instead of having all these papers that you're trying to shuffle through, and then you lose that one piece of paper. In my case, the dog ate it, right? So.
So Mike, if people reported on if they actually spent the money, would that solve some of the problem?
Well, the problem would be is if they submitted their spreadsheet, right? And the solution would be if they submitted their spreadsheet, updated each year. It's due on whatever the date we choose to, right? If August 30th may be a good time, because if there's something that has to go on to the special town meeting, it gives us time in order to implement it, right? In somebody's case over here, we may want to tell him May 30th, but I'm just teasing you. To make sure that if something has to go on, and maybe we set it up two different ways, right? If something has to go on special town meeting, we want it by August 30th. If it's going to go on the annual town meeting, we need it by October 30th. Whatever it is, however we want to do it. We need to have our job done ahead of the budget period, right? So then finance director, the town administrator, the finance committee can all do their work to get their things done. I don't want to be, each year, we're struggling trying to finish up in time at the end of the process, and we should be at the beginning of the process, so then we can get feedback. If something changes, right, because it hasn't been put on the warrant yet, if something changes, we come up with our plan, all right, we all feel good about it, we pass it along, and all of a sudden, the finance director, the town administrator, the finance committee turns around and says, whoa, 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 stop. You got to look at this, and this is the issues that we have to do something differently. We have time to do it. The way we've been doing it, we have no time at all.
So, again, my opinion, my recommendation is that we add a column for the fiscal year that something is on the plan. Sort this spreadsheet by that.
Fiscal year submitted?
No, because there is stuff in fiscal year 32. We have a plan that has things on 26, 27, 28, 29. Have that on the spreadsheet, have it sorted by that. So what's on the plan is grouped together. Then if something, they bought the Bunsen burners, we scratch it off. Then you look at what isn't on the plan and figure out sliding it in, or what maybe in a subsequent fiscal year, sliding it up. But if this list was in order of this, you could see what's out of place on this list. Whether it's not placed on the plan voted at a town meeting, or it's in a different fiscal year than what's voted at a town meeting. So we can look at the priority ones that aren't assigned to fiscal year and say, why not?
So why don't we, I hear exactly what you're saying, so my head's spinning at the same time. The year added to capital plan, right?
Year is on the capital plan, right?
Added
Just
to
what-
to
What's voted at, yeah,
Yeah, this is voted at town meeting.
Yeah.
We're not guessing.
right,
Right.
Right,
yeah.
right. Added to capital plan, so we have an end column over here, added to capital plan, so then, so,
It's sorted by that.
okay, so do we need the notes on this?
Yes.
No, I'm just asking. I'm asking, because you're going to have the department, the department submissions, right? Do you want their spreadsheet for your note backups? To try to clean this up a little bit, so to add these extra columns? Huh?
That can't
Yeah.
But if it's a spreadsheet,
You can fill
you can sort any way you want. So one other way to sort would be by department and see all the requests of departments when they came in their own notes. So if you had the police chief here, you could sort by department and say, 4 years in a row, you guys have asked for something, or you haven't asked for something for 3 years, whatever. But if you also sorted it by department, then you'd have a little history of what they asked for, and if they got it or didn't get it. For instance, you might, if you're a department chief, you might have something that for you is a priority one, say like a new fire truck. For you, that's a priority one, but for us, it isn't, because we don't have the money. So it gets pushed down. So if you sort it by department, you can see that history for the fire department. Oh yeah, you guys have been asking for that bumper truck for 3 years in a row. And each year was a #1 priority for you. We couldn't honor it though because we just didn't have the money, but maybe it's your turn, so.
But you would have that, you're going to get that from what Chris had suggested, right?
Yeah.
So if you have, he made two different suggestions. At the first suggestion was year submitted, right? And then we have added to the capital plan. right? So it doesn't get added to the capital plan, but we know that his fire truck, he submitted it on fiscal year '21, right? That's still carrying through, so you don't necessarily need to keep repeating that fire truck every single year. We'll see the year submitted, then it was submitted to us, the year that they requested it, right? And they should be side by side, and the useful life, which was another one of your suggestions, right? You get all that information right there. Then you have your, so on the very end, we could have, and we could put it up at the beginning, actually. We could have it, we probably should do that, right? Put that added to the capital plan right after the year requested, right? Whether or not it was added. So now you'll see that the fire truck was requested in '21, but we need it in '24. But it didn't get added to the capital plan until '27. Right? They're all fictitious numbers, obviously. But you'll be able to see it right there, right? All three are right there in the same spot, right?
Yeah.
You'll have the year request, the year it was submitted, the year it was requested for, and the year, what fiscal year it got added to. And then after that, you have useful life and the amount and the funding source.
And then back to the example of Patrick's broadcast server for 2032. That's just sitting at the bottom of our list until 2 years from now, we're built 2030, 2031. 2032, what are our priority ones? It's sitting out there waiting for us already on our list. But he will leave it on his spreadsheet every year as a priority for 2032.
But we're carrying, so
They're paying for it, though.
I understand.
I get that.
it's a priority.
Forget about where any money's coming from or any of that. What I'm trying to do is get to a point where we get our head around a direction on how we want to do this. So what I'm trying to eliminate is a repetitive putting the request on every single year on there, right? Now, they can have it on their list, right?
Right.
And if they're, so let's use your example, right? So his server, he puts it on as a priority one, he wants it in fiscal year '26, right? And we don't put it on in fiscal year '26, right? But it's still a priority one, and what happens, that moves the fiscal year '27 as still a priority one, right? It stays on there, but the year that it was submitted is carrying forward. So to go to Mr. Vanderbird's comment as to, it's on all these years and it never surfaces and makes the rank, right? We can see that it's always been a priority one and it was submitted in this particular year, right?
I'm just thinking long-term planning. It's,
Yeah.
to me, if my department has planned ahead and said, I know I need this 7 years from now, then as a committee, we can see that 7 years from now coming down the pike. And so when that fiscal year comes up as being added to the capital list, we can say, look, he's told us for years, he needs this thing out that time. Let's get it.
We're saying the exact same thing and we're talking about it differently, okay? So 7 years down the road, right? This year would be a priority 7.
Well, yes.
In fiscal year, 7 years down the road, it would be a priority 1, right? So if we have it listed that way, by fiscal year is associated with the priority, right? We as a group, we're trying to do our 5-year plan, so now we're going to be talking about, we're going into fiscal year 26, so we're actually missing 30. How many?
You have to build 30.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have to build 30 now, right? So we could see that right now, the way we're doing it, this is no different than it was before. We're still going jumbling around trying to figure out priority ones where are we going to put those in fiscal year 30, right? If we have it,
There's 2 highway garages listed here.
okay, let me finish my thought, and we could have 27 highway garages. We really seriously need to get through this priority conversation, right?
Yeah, I would-
And we got to get our head around how this is, what's that?
I would get rid of all the priorities, because they're all, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's, I don't think it was done by the department heads. I mean, why would a department head, the post office, I guess that would be here done, but highway has priority 10 for a grader and demo of 21 Main Street in fiscal year 30? Isn't 21 Main Street the Brown Building?
VFW.
I don't know.
Actually, if you look at highway and public buildings maintenance, they don't have anything saying priority twice. They've literally taken their
Okay.
list of items and ranked them 1 through 11 for public buildings and 1 through 10 for highway. So they've done what I would expect a department to do, is say, here's all my capital, here's what I need, first, second, third, fourth, fifth.
What is PBM?
Public buildings maintenance.
Okay.
I think 21 Main Street is the red building
Yeah.
next to soccer field.
Next to what?
The soccer field.
I think they're
The
both
little,
not far from where
the brown house,
Did you have
the brown
19?
house, not the red building.
19 is a priority 2, and
Oh, how many papers do you have?
And 1, 2, 3.
problem solved, just adding the.
But see, it says highway
Yeah.
there and then down here again, you know, so there's,
No, and I get that. So
No, I hear
The-
to be determined.
getting back to what you were saying about
There are some
how highway listed their
Said that need to
things,
be
right?
made in that, so.
One after another. Priority 6 on highway on the second page is a 6-wheel dump truck with a plow.
But they have 2 of them already approved, right?
No,
They have 1 in 24 and 1 in 25.
Let's forget all about money and what they asked for, what they have approved and all that. Let's skip that for a moment, okay? Well, I really want to get through this priority thing so we can get some sort of organization to it. If you look at the second page, priority 6 is fiscal year
28.
28, right? If we did this by fiscal years and their priorities, we would easily know in 6 years from now, right, is how I would be looking at that if it was listed associated with a priority, right? If it was associated with the fiscal year, right? It would just be easy to understand just looking at it at a glance, because over here, just going back, and I'm, again, not trying to pick on Paul Pat over there, he's going to put me on mute soon. His priority 1 is in 32. That's 7 years out, right? I think the priorities to help us, right? It's up to them to figure it out as to when they want the stuff. But for us to be able to look at something really quick and say, and understand where it is, even if I went to the third page, if I seen a 2, or if I seen a 1 next to, let's see, anything on there? Figures, oh yeah. On the last page, Douglas Public Schools, DW truck replacement, right? Fiscal year 26, but it's a priority 8. Well, it's a priority 8, but you want it in our next fiscal year. You see what I'm saying? We'll never, priority 8, it won't even make the grade with us. If it was associated with the fiscal year, the priority, it's going to change it, right? I don't want to try to understand what their thinking process is. I want to help us come up with how we can identify it. So
Well, and
that, in our world, what I'm suggesting, that truck would be actually a priority one because it's going on our next fiscal year.
Except all the 1 through 5 are all asked for in 26, that's why. They went ranked the same way. And just put them all, it's the same as putting them all as rank 1.
Whatever the case may be, so they can do that.
Yeah.
Put 100 things on it, but I need to be able to look at that, because now I gotta go through these whole 3 pages, right, and figure out what's on 26. I don't wanna do that. That's how we're gonna screw up and miss things, right? Is because 26 is on the last page, and it's a priority 8. So if I don't go over to that fiscal year and I just look at a priority 8, we're strapped for money, we're trying to figure out how to make things happen. I don't even consider it 28. 1, 2, or 3 is what's in my head. I'm trying to, because by the time we get to 2 and 3, we've already depleted our budget, and then we're scratching our head trying to figure out who's gonna tell who that they're not getting what, right? So, again, I keep coming back to this priority versus the fiscal year. I think it's a way for us to look at it and understand it real quick. If they have a priority 1, we know it's in the very next coming year. Go ahead, Mr. Vandenberg.
So I'm again thinking about this piece of paper, which we worked on a lot last year.
Yes.
Lots of input, approved by the town meeting.
Yeah,
If we just use this as to guide our discussion,
yep.
rather than come up with a whole new thing.
I'm not looking to come up with a whole new thing. So
Okay.
first of all, I feel very good about all the work that we've done over the last few years with this 5-year plan. But with that being said, can anybody sitting here tell me if the Bunsen burners have been changed? That's the
Let's say
first
we-
thing on it.
Let's say we could get those questions answered.
No, we will get those questions
Then
answered.
why do we need to refigure this?
I'm not saying we're not refiguring it. The plan isn't to refigure anything.
Okay.
The process is to reconsider everything, right? You have to make sure that those priorities are still the same priorities that they were a year ago, right? Everything's subject to change. So we're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. We're just looking at it to make sure that we still feel as confident with our recommendation to town meeting that we did last year. That's all it is.
So let's say Lisa sent an email to all the department heads
Yeah.
and said, attached is what was approved at the town meeting for 2026. Please let us know what's been finished and if any numbers have changed. Because everybody can still see this. So we might hear from Document Digitizer Phase 1, whoever was in charge of that, oh, it's going to be 130,000, or it's going to be 190,000. But if all the department heads just were reminded of what the town meeting approved, and they could say, oh yeah, we did get that Bunsen burner, and it was 20 grand. We got 2 grand left over. So if everybody just told us if these were still active, then could we still use these as a working document? I wonder.
All right, if everybody doesn't mind, I don't want to tie up Mr. Benoit's time too much. He speedily came in the room, so I think he has some urgent news for us.
Just want to let you know that the town hall LED project does include the second floor.
And what about the police station?
It does.
Does.
Station, second floor, yeah.
All right,
For the whole building.
Yep.
And the post office is everything that's not done yet.
yeah. Interior and exterior?
Yeah, exterior lighting as well.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else have any questions on the LED lighting for Mr. Benoit? No, okay. Thank you. We're going to decide before the end of the meeting, Matt, if we're going to meet next week on this particular subject, because we have to come up with it, so I'll let you know after the
I'll have a
meeting.
meeting with the Green Community Coordinator before then anyway, so that'll be helpful.
All right, so why don't you have that, when are you having that?
Guess I didn't get confirmation of that. All right, well, no.
Okay.
Oh, it's Thursday at 10 a.m.
Thursday at 10 a.m., okay. Thank you. That'd be the 19th.
I think one of your points, Mike, which is a good one, is that these things are all subject to change
Correct,
in the future. You have no idea.
right.
So, for instance,
You can't compel a future town meeting.
right. So let's say we called Adam and said, we approved $220,000 for that backhoe with plow. What's your sense of what that's going to be now? And he might say it's going to be a lot more. Then maybe we have to subtract something from this list.
Right. Yeah, we went through that on a number of items last year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so, and we can talk about this again next meeting, but I would like to get something back to the department heads. I'll read what I'm writing down here. I'm just writing down a note that I want to have Lisa send to these people, these departments.
But I'm all curious about those Bunsen burners now, Mike, that you brought. I want to go over there and see if they're there.
No, but it was a
Is it-
silly example, but you understand what I
I
mean,
do.
right? It's like, it's very difficult. It's like, Ellie, you bring up, what were they thinking? That's the whole point, is we have no idea what they're thinking, right? We don't have any idea what's completed. We're being spoon-fed certain
And isn't
information.
that a prime part of science?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, how can you not have them,
right. Unless there was kids like me in class and we just used it for shenanigans, but anyways, according, to go with Mr. Vandenberg's suggestion, is we're going to send over the current approved capital plan. Attached is what was approved at town meeting. Is this accurate, right? And then I also want to put in there, is your spreadsheet complete, including past requests,
Okay, thank you.
right?
Yep.
And that's my whole goal with this, is because we're doing something totally out of the ordinary, but we have to come up with something that works. And the goal is to try to make a system that anybody could walk in and just pick up and go. I don't want Ben to decide he's going to go in that stupid cubby over there that I have and try to go through all my notes and all this nonsense and try to figure out what's what, because I don't even know if I could figure it out. So I don't want to do it that way. I want something cleaner that works for all of us.
When you look at what we did for 2026, it's mostly school, highway, fire. And then whoever does the school stuff, the municipal stuff. The first.
So the municipal second floor renovation for 150 most likely won't be happening in fiscal year '26, right? So, but that gives us a little bit of wiggle room, because if you recall, the town administrator said that the put all the stuff on digitizing, was 300,000. Right? He said 300 to 350, whatever it was that he said. And look at those two items added together is 300,000.
But he's got phase 1 and phase 2, he has phase 2 and 27.
Of the upstairs.
No.
No, the digitizing.
Oh, okay, yep,
So he's got the 300 across 2
right,
years.
okay. So you could do all of it because of those two, this, just conversation, not a suggestion or anything, it's just part of the process of trying to get us all thinking in the same direction. We could do all of it in 1 year, or we have potentially 150,000 in there for 150,000 almost exactly for the three different buildings of lights, right? So that's good news to me, and I'm sure everybody else sitting here, because it's like, all right, so now we have this 11th hour request for money for the special town meeting, which is going to take money out of our capital budget for the spring, right? It's not as simple as just giving it as a special town meeting. It's going to have repercussions on our budget for '26, right? We're taking it away now. So that might be our saving grace. I'm glad you pointed that out, that it gives us some wiggle room and it helps us with our decision-making, right? I'm not trying to put him ahead of everybody else, but it's an urgent thing that needs to be decided on one way or the other before the special town meeting, and they have no time at all to put this together, and we just got it ourselves. So that's something I think we should talk about. If everybody's open to next Thursday at 2 PM, we'll do that, and then that'll give Mr. Benoit a chance to get that answer for us from his consultant.
I thought it'd be gone the next 2 weeks.
Okay, do you have anything, any concerns or comments you have about the LED lights?
I trust the group.
No, I know, but if you had anything, that we're all sitting here. Huh?
I'm for it.
Yep, yep.
I think it's
Yep.
going to pay off.
I myself, not opposed to it, but I want to make sure we have all the information so we make good decisions. If you're gone for the next 2 weeks, let's get back onto the priority discussion, as painful as it is. What's everybody's thoughts? Should we try to associate it with the fiscal year, or do you try to decipher their priority 1, 2, and 3?
I want to see this without going crazy, changing priorities. Get the fiscal year that things are on this plan and have it sorted in that order.
By
See
fiscal,
what this list looks like then, because you're going to have, the priorities all get jumbled up because you're going to have.
so instead of this being priority 1, so I'm trying to, why don't we move these columns ahead of the project description, right? And the priority can move after project description, so then you can look at this and all the 26s are going to be here.
Exactly. And then you can look at the priorities and say the priorities make no sense.
Well, I'm not even going to pay attention to them.
Exactly.
What I'm doing is I'm just agreeing with you,
Yep.
because I need to see fiscal year's priority mean nothing to me.
I want to see what this looks like with the information on it, about having it sorted the same way this is. So then we can see what makes sense, what doesn't.
So Mike, I was just wondering too, if all the department heads are just reminded what was approved at the town meeting, if we hear back from everybody that the FY 2026 is pretty good
Yeah,
as here,
yeah,
and even the 27 doesn't look too bad,
yeah.
does that give us enough to work with as we get ready to make a proposal?
Yeah, so our main priority is fiscal year '26, but we want to be as accurate as possible with the other 4 years that are attached to it, right? So '26, we definitely need to know, does that work? If you need something different, because you're gonna be challenged with a lot here now, right? So I'm going to use, I'll use the library for an example, right? That's something very new to us on our list, right? But say they want it in 26, and I'm not even looking at what year it is, I'm just using it for an example. They want it in fiscal year 26. Now, that just jumped to the top of the list, and you got to figure out, can you fit $55,000 into this, right? It's not going to be that simple because I believe there's a process that they need to follow that hasn't been followed. And the process includes building and facilities, because anything over $50,000, according to the state laws, has to go through. And April 10, 2010, when they formed the Building and Facilities Committee, it was a $10,000 threshold, and then that got moved up to $50,000 to match what the state's threshold is, right? Because it came in at $55,000, they've triggered the need for Building and Facilities to be involved in the process. And Building and Facilities now needs to recommend that project. Right? They shouldn't have came right to Capital, they should have went to Building and Facilities and talked to them there first. We have to be careful that we adhere to our rules, right, the town rules as to how the processes work. Because otherwise we end up with this, people are just jumping. I'm not going to get into discussion about that, I have a couple questions of my own on it, I'll wait until they're here because it's the proper thing to do. So, so you know what I'm gonna have Lisa email over, so we get that cleaned up. I'm gonna ask Lisa to shift the year submitted, fiscal year requested, and useful life, to move that ahead of the project descriptions. The priority number, I don't care if they put it after project, where they put it, after, they can put it after the amount, I guess. It doesn't really matter where it goes, because you're going to have your fiscal year. I don't even know if we need to see priorities anymore. If they have the year that they requested it, maybe we don't even need priorities. Maybe it's just a waste.
It's how we prioritize, I think, not how, I mean, obviously, if a department-
this is how we prioritize.
Yeah,
We don't need it on a piece of paper
Right.
to say it. So maybe we just take that priority column right out, and we just,
Well, I think there's still value in it, because at some point you have 50,000 more to spend, and you look, and the school's got two $50,000 projects, and it said, one's priority 2, one's priority 3, one's priority 8, one's priority 9, whatever the number is.
but you're gonna have that based off the fiscal year that it was requested.
But this year they've requested 1 through 6, all in fiscal 26.
No, I hear what Chris is saying, yeah.
Yeah, if they've requested 6 things in fiscal 26, and ranked them 1 through 6, and we have to pick one of them, for the school, we're doing them a favor of picking the one that they prioritize the highest for their department. So that's where I see the value, not for us to overall say,
Okay.
you know, everything that's priority 1 means it's the most
Yeah.
important thing in the world, it's the most important thing
Yeah.
to that department. So if we're making a tie-breaking decision
Yeah.
on 1 or 2 things for that department, hey, you told us.
So we have priority 1 through 6 in fiscal year 26.
Yep.
We give 1 and 3. What happens to 2 and 4? Do they stay labeled as priority 2, 4, and 5?
It's up to them to update it the next time they submit their spreadsheet. You know, when they submit their
Okay.
spreadsheet, it's
Yep.
their priority.
Yeah, okay.
So when it comes to submitting for 27, if the priority 2 that didn't get filled, they
Yeah.
get a grant for it, comes off the list.
Yeah, so they're gonna learn really quick if everything is a priority 1, as one of my friends did, because and we pick the wrong priority 1, they're gonna get real smart the following year.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I agree with that.
Chair,
We have some comment from the closet.
just
Go
a
ahead.
quick comment. So just to clarify my thinking on that,
Yeah,
my thinking is that, so for whatever fiscal year I was submitting it for, I only had one project, so it's just a priority one. If I had two competing projects, like you said, then maybe I'd have to figure out, so all of
Yeah.
them are number one, because they're the only ones I'm asking in that year.
Right.
That's how I looked at it.
Yeah,
That's exactly how I look at it.
yeah.
For feedback.
Yeah, and I was just picking on you a little bit
I know.
because I didn't want to pull out a department, and you were an easy target.
It's a clear one too, because it's all
But,
one.
yes, but if you had multiple priorities ones in 1 year, right?
Yeah.
You stand the danger of losing what you actually really needed versus over what we figured out that you should have, because you call them all priority one.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. So are we going to meet on the night, is it the 19th?
The 19th at 2 PM if it works for everybody.
Yes.
So far, yeah, should.
I'll be here in spirit.
So you're going to Zoom us?
See what kind of Wi-Fi.
The answer is no. From a priority standpoint, it's probably like an 8.
Where are you going? Oh, wow. Jeez.
Remember when the cell phones first come out? You used to take a piece of paper? You're breaking up. I can't hear you. No, that was a good process, frustrating for everybody, I'm sure. But I think the end conclusion was we keep the priority. I think we should, do we agree that we move that past the project description? And then just put the year submitted, year requested, and useful life before the project submission? So that way you can just,
Here it's on the plan.
You said it.
Yeah, no, he said,
no, year submitted. All right, so year capital, so I had that, okay. So we're gonna have year submitted. Fiscal year requested. Useful years. Useful life. Right? And we're gonna have, if it was added, the capital plan.
have it sorted by the year it's on this plan.
But that's what it says, added the capital plan, what year it got added to it.
Yeah, but
So
if, but if this list is sorted by that, then we have it grouped by years.
But we
And if
haven't-
it's not added, we'll just fall out to the end, and we know what we're working with for projects that need to get on the plan.
So, okay, wait a minute.
So there, right now, it's sorted by
No.
priority,
Yep, no, forget about priority. Priority has been fired.
but sorted by the year it's on the plan.
Because this is voted at
Okay.
town meeting.
So that's fine. So what we do is we'll have year submitted, fiscal year requested, useful life added, and when it was added to the capital plan. And each category, so the first section is going to start with everything that was added to the capital plan, and then all the other stuff will be after it.
Yeah. So you sort,
Yeah.
you sort by that, so then
Yeah.
this is gonna look a lot like this, with a bunch of stuff at the end that isn't in one of these buckets.
Right.
And then we can just then move those things either from bucket to bucket or, from.
So,
So these will line up.
Exactly.
This will just have.
yeah, so that'll work, I think, building off of your suggestion that you just had. When we send the request to the departments each year, their spreadsheet's gonna start off with everything that's on the fiscal plan,
And they can
right? And then they, yeah, they can, so when we do that, we wanna just give them, so for argument's sake, we just sent it to them now, it's for fiscal year '26. I'm trying to keep it needed for people and not overcomplicate it, right? But we could send them their request, but it would show the current year we're working on, what has already been approved, so it's on there, so then they can see it, right? We don't want to show them 26, 27, 28 on that spreadsheet, because then their spreadsheet just gets very cluttered, right? We could pick up their spreadsheet as, well, I'll use this one, right? So if they had, we submitted this, and they had a couple items on here that were already approved, that would be already populated, and then they could add to it of what they have, their request for. So if they want, trying to put something in the 26, and they see that, I'll pick on the highway department, they've already got a backhoe, they got a loader, they got 3 dump trucks and 14 lawnmowers and everything else, and now they're trying to ask for something else, it's gonna make them stop and realize that maybe I should wait a year or two to ask for that, I don't really need it, right? Is that, what's everybody feel on that? Do we just populate their submission to what's been approved on our annual thing for fiscal year 26 onto their list?
If this is gonna get sent to them and say, this look good.
Yeah, well, that's what we started off with, that's what I had, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Attached is what was approved at town meeting, is this accurate? Right?
In the future, yeah, when we start looking at 27, yeah, send them the spreadsheet with what's on here.
No, I like going back, because I forgot we talked about that. I like that idea much better, because it eliminates work for Lisa to try to generate all these things. And that's what I'm trying to do, is put the ownership on the departments to create their own work, right? And all we're gonna do is look at it, and we have our master sheet now. When we get to next year, right? If there's something, now that this has been created, right? If something gets changed on this, when Lisa goes in to edit it, it becomes red. Now you turn around and it's like, Chris, you changed your lawnmower. What's up with that? It's red this year. Right? It's just not to trick anybody or catch anybody, to help us so we can identify it very quickly as to what it is. This is going to be a process. It's going to take us a long time to figure this out through this whole season that we're going through now. I'm sure we'll get to a conclusion where we have a pretty good document. We're not going to be able to fix this in one meeting, but I think we made a lot of progress today with.
It's gonna be a lot better than all my,
Well, this is what I'm trying to get rid of, because it's.
every year, every time we get the new one of these, and
Right.
every department's coming in front of us, we get their individual sheet, and
Right.
but this is super cool. Yeah. And if this-
What's that? Oh, that there. Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
this to look like this,
Yeah.
you know, with the additional information.
Right. Yeah. The other thing with this here, it's really helpful for everybody that's not sitting at the table, right? The finance director, the town administrator, the finance committee, even the board of selectmen, right? To be able to, what do we have coming up, right? Unless you're part of this committee, you're really not gonna know, because nobody has time to try to dive into all this stuff that we're trying to go through. Now we create a document that anybody can look at and say, you guys better be careful, in fiscal year 29, you like 2.5 times what you normally get here, what's going on, where's that money coming from? At least now we have time that we could potentially, you know what, give that extra 150,000, let's put that into something. Even, you can create as many special, it's a dangerous statement I'm about to make, but you could create as many special stabilization accounts as you want. We don't want to do that because it becomes very cluttered, but even if we left the money in free cash, knowing it becomes a team effort, right? So if everybody knows what the mentality is, and the finance director and the administrator realize that we had that 150 in there, we're trying to build that up, because in 29, we're gonna get clobbered. Yes, 750,000 is coming off, but will we have enough? We'll probably only have 500,000 in there, so it's only 250 that's gonna be realized, not 750,
We
right?
also have the visibility if Adam's got $700,000 excavator, and the fire truck department has $1 million engine,
Yeah,
both in the same fiscal year,
Yeah.
and 6 years out, you can say, well, hey, why don't you figure out how
Yeah.
to get 1 year early or 1 year late, so they're
yeah.
split across.
Yeah, one thing that I would like to discuss during this process, because of our large purchases, right? Sometimes it happens that it's not closed out. We're looking for things to close out as a committee because we need that money to figure out what we're gonna do to have these projects, right? So if I buy Shirley's company a pickup truck, she has a certain period of time. We got to figure out what that period of time is, because she gets a pickup truck this year. Next year, she decides she wants to add a radio to it because we only came on an AM. She wants an FM radio in it now, or whatever. And because she hasn't submitted the closeout, she still has a little, lack of a better description, slush fund to add her trinkets because and associated costs, the wording that we put on all these foolish things, right? We got to tighten that up a little bit. We get something for a department. They have a certain period of time. If she orders her pickup truck, it should come with the radio in it that she wants. If she chose not to pay attention and order it with the radio that she needed, I guess she don't get it. Right? Because we need that money to come back into our
Coffers.
budgets or coffers or whatever to plan ahead.
You
Because
just plain up sit out there unused.
we're just sitting out there and it's like, so what, is this closed out yet? Nope. Is this closed out yet? Nope. This closed out yet? Nope. So it's been my mentality, I don't know how everybody else feels about it. If we, and I'm going to end this pretty soon so you can go home for your nap. If we turn around and we give the high school money for a steamer, right? And they don't use all that money on that steamer, right? And so the money comes back. Do we want to see if we could use that for that department and something else they need before we put it back into the general? It's just something to think about, right? It's like when I suggested that we rearrange our plan for the oil tank at the school, right? Because they didn't get the first oil tank done, but we had a strong need, that emergency need that came in. So once they get that oil tank figured out, and I told Courtney this, that I'll sit next to her and fight with her to get that oil tank because I think it's important. But if you haven't identified the cost and the vendor, why are we tying up $250,000 between two tanks? It didn't make any sense to me because we have too many other needs, right? But it's in the front of my head that once they figure it out, I'll fight with it. I'm sure everybody else at the table feels the same way because we're still feeling the effects of the last little incident that we had. Still trying to close it out.
I have to go do my animal chores.
Two
Cats and dogs.
2 seconds.
Okay.
You can go now if you want. But I think we got good solutions to it. So I'll ask Lisa to send out an email, make sure that, have them revisit the approved capital plan that we have. And is there submission that they have complete, including all past submissions? Is this all you have? Right, bring it up to date, because we're basically like starting from fresh, right? I don't want to keep saying, well, 6 years ago, we thought, I want to get a clean document that we can all work at. So we made good progress. I like the suggestions, how we went through it. The priority-wise, that it's going to be, maybe at some point it might make sense to me, but right now I'm letting it go. But doing it the way we talked about makes a lot of sense. Motion to adjourn, anyone?
We can do minutes, we have 3 sets for next meeting, as long as we don't lose them.
Yes, can everybody take home their minutes, and we'll do those at the very next meeting. If you could email Lisa or myself, Mr. Vandenberg, if you see anything in there that you don't agree with. I'll note it for you. And then we'll approve the minutes at the next meeting. Thank you, Shirley, for reminding me. So I have a very anxious wave and a verbal motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Go ahead, Chris, take it.
So I also have 2 eager seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.